Hey everyone, it's LS, and this is the Zoe release rundown. And what I mean by that is I know that I already did a first impressions video on Zoe, but now I actually have her stats to look at. This is what she will be coming out with when she does hit the Rift, and I'm joined today by a Challenger E West player, Anton. He's been in other videos. You might have just seen him in the patch 7.23 notes rundown. And now we're going to be talking about Zoe, who's League of Legends' newest champion, and who's a champion that I'm extremely excited for. I think that it is going to be a great addition to champions that are going to be picked. I expect to see her in pro play. I think her kit is fantastic. Probably going to be extremely difficult to balance. There's a lot of resemblance to LeBlanc, and so just keep that in mind while we go through. So her base stats, at first impression, pretty good. The thing that stands out to me is I actually thought her range was going to be shorter. 525 is pretty fair. I thought her range was going to be somewhere in like the 400, 425 ballpark. Movement speed is 340. This concerns me. For a champion that is already so mobile, she gets 340 movement speed. Now, Koreans right now, on the current patch, they love Celerity, the new Keystone rune, whatever. Obviously, she benefits from this quite a lot. She has high base MS. And she's also going to likely go into Lichbane, and she can also probably go into Luden's Echo. So with the Celerity Keystone or Rune or whatever, it's going to be super fantastic for her, I think. I think that she's just going to benefit from it so much. Maybe there's a chance that because she already has Lichbane, she doesn't go into it, but with some of her mana costs and the fact that I think that she's going to go Morellonomicon, and she just wants to keep spamming out her mana, getting, the resets from Morello and having this available, because when we're talking about 40% CDR on a 5-second cooldown, she's going to be like whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
So we'll see what ends up happening. I mean, her cooldowns are all relatively short. This doesn't even have a mana cost, and then 14 seconds, but after 40% CDR, it's really all not that much, 80 mana. She can go through stuff.
The 80
really
mana
quickly.
isn't even 80 mana, because if you hit it, you refund the... Oh no, it's
You
the
refund the
cooldown.
cooldown. Yeah, you refund the cooldown. Now, one of the things that stands out to me, though, is that she has good base damage. Like, yes, she has this minimum damage thing right here, right? But if you mouse over this and click maximum damage and whatnot, the 1350, the thing that immediately stands out to me about that is that it reminds me of Varus. If anyone remembers Red Side Varus, Lethality Varus. And so in this sense, it's sort of like an AP version of that. And even with the 1350, not even including the 1650, that is still, it's a really good ability on a very, very short cooldown. And the fact that this has synergy with her passive, which at level 18, this is ridiculous. A free 250 plus damage ability after casting something, that doesn't make any sense. And I mean, it has synergy with her kit. So we're just going to go through it. Hurls a star at the target direction, collides with the first enemy hit, dealing magic damage in a small area, so there's a slight AoE associated with it. If the star does not collide with the enemy, it remains stationary for up to 1 second, so we can reactivate Paddle Star at any point. So there's a lot of cutesy plays that she can do with this. Really, really high skill ceiling, I think, and I think it gives a lot of room to outplay your opponents.
Yeah.
Really nice ability. The only thing I worry about early on with it, though, is in laning phase, it might not be the best early on. You might need to get some points into it. And then, you'll end up having more benefit from it. But anyways, Spell Thief. So this is really interesting. Cooldown 0.25 seconds. And so if you are near her and you're an opponent and you cast a summoner spell, she picks it up, she can reactivate it, and it's not even necessarily a summoner spell. It can be an item active. So she can steal Zanyas from you. I assume that she can steal Solari. I assume she can steal Redemption, so double Redemption inside of team fights, depending on how quick, she is to pull the trigger on certain actives while everything's going off all at once. And then when she activates it, or does whatever, she gets bonus MS. So remember, the passive with Celerity, the fact that she's going to have Luden's Echo or Lichbane, at least that's what I'm envisioning for her. This is pretty bonkers, to be completely honest, because when you factor in this bonus MS and the MS that she's going to get from her items, and then we're going to get to her portal jump, this is going to be one really slippery girl. You know what I'm thinking of right now? I'm thinking of like, Saya's like Chandelier, how like Shia LaBeouf can't actually like Well, no, you know what? I mean, that's kind of weird, but like it kind of just looks like she's really slippery and she can't be held down, and she's able to just run around and
No.
you know what I'm talking about? No, you're not into that.
It's like said, but he can R all the time. Or double V.
Well, it's like LeBlanc on steroids.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
That's basically what it
more
is.
Simple.
This is LeBlanc when she lived a little back in her day. LeBlanc's aged. She's moved on. She's a cougar now. All right. She has to work a 9 to 5. Zoe's not that. Zoe is the 16-year-old on MTV, you know, sweet life, billionaire parent, like everything handed to her, genetics with, you know, the grace of God and whatever else. So that's Zoe. Sleepy Trouble Bubble. So we'll move. Oh yeah, and by the way, she gets Ari's Foxfire by activating. So this is just fantastic, and it's not even a small amount of damage either. And because of the MS, I'm assuming it's going to be very easy to reliably get them all off. All right, so this is the spell that it makes me wonder like where she does end up. You and I talked about how maybe she's like a pseudo Karma and Morgana support in a way, simply because of this spell. Yes, the cooldown on it is high, and you do need to get to the 40-45% CDR, depending on what mastery you go. But still, it's pretty obnoxious. You know, making someone fall asleep for 2 seconds, and then they take double damage from the next attack or ability, that's huge. Like, that just says to me Zoe and Jhin. You know, is Jin's 4th shot.
Yeah.
Or there's so many champions that they just have, like, an ability that just, it guts you. And so it's really nice to see. For an ability, it's definitely a supportive ability. Really decent base AP. Or not base AP. Really decent base damage. Okay base AP. But this is okay because remember, she has Lichbane. And her passive synergizes with Sleepy Trouble Bubble. You put them to sleep, and then this deals double damage. I don't know how that's fair. Because if you have... So I don't know exactly what the interaction will be, but what happens if you do more Sparkles plus Lichbane after a Sleepy Trouble Bubble? Does the passive deal double and then Lichbane just hits for Lichbane? I mean, that would almost kill most squishies in itself. You don't even need any other abilities. If she's super slippery and she's able to go 40% CDR and then she's like Talia and she has Rylai's or something and she slows you, this just gets super obnoxious. The ball's range is doubled when it passes through terrain. If the ball does not hit an opponent, it lingers on the ground as a trap for 4 seconds. So it becomes Victor's gravity field on steroids. That's a huge zoning tool, right? So I talked about some of the terrain advantages that, you know, spells and abilities can grant and stuff. And so let's look at red side Zoe, and you know you can do stuff for blue side as well. But you know I'm thinking red side primarily just because she reminds me of red side Varus with the ability and its range and how it works and stuff. Even though it doesn't go through all the opponents. If you're Zoe later on and you can control these corridors or you can control this and you can endlessly harass from over here, you know, like and prevent the Baron. And with her ultimate, she can just be so obnoxious with coordinating stuff. You know, she can come from here, blink down to here, use abilities, and it's just really slippery. This is a very difficult turtle, I think, to break for red side Zoe. I think this is super, super obnoxious. I think she has a pretty strong ability to defend her own blue side jungle and red side jungle on red side. And if you look at blue side Zoe, yeah, she has potency around the dragon and stuff, but I don't think the dragon's nearly as important as the Baron.
No.
So the other thing about this is that when you are blue side, this side of the jungle is much easier to defend because in the early portions of the game, early game, mid game, etc., it's not in close proximity to a major objective because Herald is oftentimes opportunistic. Unless a team that's really far ahead is forcing you to come to it, that's the only time where this side of the jungle is going to be important. However, red side, this is not the case because Dragon is always going to be an important early and mid game neutral objective. So Zoe's ability to actually control her blue side jungle on red is super big.
Yeah.
And then later on, she gets even more value being able to protect her left side, her left red side jungle. So I think that's just beautiful. Like, her kit is fantastic, super great, cooldowns are fair, mana ratios look entirely manageable. Range, I think, is unfair. And by the way, in case, you know, your first-time viewers or something you don't realize, I love imbalance. I'm a huge fan of fighting imbalance with imbalance, not balancing. Do you know what I mean?
No, imbalance.
What I mean, like, by imbalance is, like, imagine a champion that's just absolutely broken. You know, like, what's one of the first things that comes to mind?
New champions, almost.
Yeah, well, yeah, sometimes, usually new champions are kind of broken, but, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, a champion that it's like, you have to ban it.
Yeah.
Or it's just too broken, it looks like a free win, whatever. Rather than that champion getting nerfed, I prefer other champions being brought up to their level, where everything is a knife fight.
Yeah.
You know, like, dexterity is really important, quick thinking, creativity, etc. Because I come from StarCraft 1, where there were just things that were not fair by any means, super imbalanced, and the way that they actually fought against each other was with more imbalance. So it was just imbalance versus imbalance. And I really like that. Although I still am an advocate of, like, longevity, stalled out games, and, you know, whatever. But what I'm talking about is, like, kits. I really like imbalanced kits and imbalanced ratios inside of the kits, as long as it doesn't just promote, like, a 10-minute game. Or, like, 15, 20-minute game, in some sense, because they're too overtuned in some sense. Final ability, Portal Jump. Range is only 575, but that's fine. Cost is 50 mana, 5-second cooldown. Zoe targets a location and then dives into a portal, then she opens beneath her, blinking to the target location after a very brief delay. After 1 second, she falls back through the portal and blinks back to her cast location. One of the things immediately comes to mind, you know, is some of the masteries, like the blink, the sudden impact, but I haven't, you know, I mean, we're going to have to see how she itemizes and all that stuff and how her lane phases play out. Zoe remains able to attack and cast abilities during Portal Jump and can see over walls but cannot move. So when we talk about the Rift Kit stuff, you know, if the enemy team is turtling like Baron in like a, you know, a concave, and they're not letting you come in and you're red side Zoe, you can blink down from below Wraiths and you can shoot one of your paddle stars to come from their blue side jungle. And that's a trajectory that, you know, they might not expect. And that makes it really easy to actually hit the back line or force the back line to hug the front line. If you can start, like, forking them or hitting them with, like, pincers. So her kit has tons of creativity. Now, the thing I said to you earlier is I don't know if she's mid-jungle or if she's just primarily mid or if she has any potency as a support. I think that she does have potency as a support, potentially, and it's mostly just because of the Sleepy Bubble Trouble.
Yeah.
And then I think that she can actually make a lot of use of these two things in lane.
Yeah. Her roaming potential is really good.
Yes.
Right?
Roaming potential is really good. She has a superior Hextech flash traption built into her kit that's amazing for competitive warding. So the fact that her ratios, yeah, they're not, like, super fantastic, but her base damages can be amplified, you know, like Paddle Star. That's really high base. You're not really, I think, ever going to get the fifth one, right? But still, it's important to talk about. It's not like she won't pack a punch like one of the AP carry supports that we used to have. Malzahar, MF, Karma, etc. And then having Morgana's binding fused with, like, LeBlanc and Karma, I think that's really strong. Well, we'd have to see. The other thing I can think about her is Kleptomancy, because she has good range. So in bottom lane matchups, you know, against melees can't necessarily engage on her because she can just throw the Sleepy Bubble Trouble. And they engage and then they fall asleep and she runs away. You know, I mean, there's probably even more synergy here. Like, imagine Zoe Callista and you Sleepy Bubble Trouble after a few Ren sacks are on, and then Ren...
Oh. But... Wait, you mean that you put the Sleeping Bubble and she's hitting to get more Ren, but when she's hitting, it's an attack as well. It's not only ability, right?
No, it's next attack or ability.
Yeah, but if Callista is hitting, she, like, an attack.
Yeah. So you would have to have them fall asleep when you would want to rend, because they fall asleep after 2 seconds.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless allies have to be able to make use of this, right?
Yeah.
Sleeping targets take double damage from the next attack or ability. It doesn't say from Zoe.
No.
Okay, so I'm assuming, so Jhin, Callista Rend, that's super big.
It's really good.
Yeah, and as a jungler, this is actually quite an obnoxious ability. Also, the fact that you can actually help out your laner from a million range away.
Yeah.
That's pretty insane. Like, shooting a top laner from almost Baron. That's pretty obnoxious. It's like, you know, the Zeroth roams. Apparently, Twitch chat is claiming that the damage on this is capped, however. But even still, like, the double damage has to be quite absurd. Ball's range is doubled. Putting a target to sleep refunds the cooldown. This also further ties in, I think, to support, but obviously it's good for jungle, and it's good for mid and support. I don't know, Twitch chat is saying that I have to... Dealing magic damage, making the target drowsy. After a brief sleeping target, take double damage up to a cap of Sleepy Bubble Trouble's damage. Yeah, but it doesn't say what the cap is. So I assume that it's still a really hefty amount. We're not talking about some Night Blue 3, you know, Bubble Mochaccino, Bubble Boba Tea, Caparino, okay? Like, wow, 1200, 1500 AD Jin with Sleepy Bubble Trouble, 4th auto attack, amazing! You know, and then, I don't know. So, I don't know what's going on. Wait, is the damage listed? It doesn't say what the cap is. Oh, up to a cap. Oh, see, okay. I'm an idiot. I'm a coach, by the way, and also English is my first language. So I'm just throwing that out there. Okay. So it goes up to 220 base.
But that's still pretty big.
That's still well 220 plus 40% AP, maybe 300. 300.
Yeah.
I mean that amplification is insane.
Isn't that like double damage early game almost?
Well, no, early game it's gonna cap right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's still insane. It's still insane. I'm a coach, by the way. So, yeah. Another thing that this reminds me of as well is actually Nidalee. Her kit is. I mean, she's like Mew. Maybe that's what she's based off of. You know how like Mew was like created or something? Or not Mew was created. That was Mewtwo. Feels bad now. Maybe she's just like Mew, though. She has a little bit of everything. But how do you think about her?
She's very insane. She's like Nidalee from season 3 or whatever you said.
I don't know if she'd be that gross. I hope she is. I genuinely do. I love champs like that.
Yeah. You said you loved imbalance.
Yeah, I love it. I love imbalance. Shout out to Bishu. Alright, so I think that's pretty much it for first impressions. The lane matchups and stuff, I mean, we'll have to see how they all go. I can see her actually resisting Talia a little bit better, maybe, than some of the other mids. Obviously, I think that she'll be able to bully some mids as well. One of my only concerns is, like, how big is the AoE radius, you know? I guess I could probably watch a video, but no. Another thing about this is you can actually help out your jungler if he invades, even without leaving lane. What a time to be alive. Anything else?
No, Broken Champion is pretty sure.
Alright, so looking forward to it. That's it for the Zoe rundown.